Maybe somebody. Okay, Prabhuji has raised his hand. Indira Harita Prabhuji. Is it something you want to ask before we start? Okay, maybe by mistake. All right, so our obeisances to beautiful deities of Shri Jagannath Mandir Shishadi Film. बलदेवा प्रभु की जय, सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, लॉर्ड जगन्नाथ की जय, श्री पंच तत्व की जय, श्री गौर निताई की जय, लॉर्ड परशुरामा की जय, लॉर्ड वामन देव की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरु महाराज की जय. प्रेयर्स. ओम अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष्य शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. गौर राम. So today we have three shlokas, 8.4, 8.5 and 8.6. So the chapter Attaining the Supreme, also called Taraka Brahma Yoga. So this is about remembering Lord Krishna in devotion throughout one's life, and especially at the time of death. One can then attain to his supreme abode beyond the material world. So Taraka is Taraka Brahma Yoga, another name for this chapter. Taraka is actually the deliverer, and Brahma we know one of the Lord is, as I said, is Parabrahma, all spiritual, and yoga is union with that Supreme Lord. So somewhere I think we will have an emphasis on this Hare Krishna mantra for the Kali Yuga, which is also there is a Taraka Brahma mantra for each Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, Hare Krishna mantra is the Taraka Brahma mantra. So I think there will be emphasis on this somewhere. So let's begin. Chapter 8.4. Adhibhutam Aksharo Bhava Purushas Shadi Devatam Adi Yagyo Aham Evatra Dehe Deha Gratambara. Translation. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adhideva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adhiyagya, the Lord of sacrifice. And next one is Ante kale chamam eva smaran muktva kalevaram yaha prayati samadhavam yati nasti atra samshaya. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So this is in continuation. 8.6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam eveti konteya sadat bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So anybody who has been reading Bhagavad-gītā, this is very common. This is ubiquitous. This is very known of how the last moments of life are critical, and because whatever state one remembers, whatever one is doing, we will attain again in next life. So all those who want to go back home, back to God, attain, be with Krishna, or achieve spirituality, transcend that. this material world, go back to spiritual world, then last moment is very critical. And for that last moment, entire life is very critical, because this Krishna consciousness is all about that. Practicing it throughout our life, so that at the last moment it's easy to remember Krishna. So that is why we have all this emphasis on chanting Hare Krishna Mantra, reading and associating and eating prasadam and everything. Okay. 1 second. Yeah. All right. All right. Okay. So these three shlokas are connected. Um, so Adi Bhutam, the physical manifestation, which is the material energy, and material energy is Akshara. Akshara means constantly changing, means destructible, and Bhava, nature. So Purusha, the universal form, including all the demigods like the sun and moon. Adi Devatam, called Adi Deva, and the living soul is called Adi Deva. And Adi Yagya, the super soul. Aham, I, Krishna, Eva, certainly, Atra, in this, Dehe, body, Deha, Ritam, of the embodied, Ya, Yara, who best. So Srila Prabhupada says that physical nature is known to be endlessly mutable. The universe is the cosmic form of the Supreme Lord, and I am that Lord represented as the super soul dwelling in the heart of every embodied being. Now, this, as we have this, we would have heard, and this has been explained in many places in scriptures, that there are two birds, the individual soul and the super soul, and they are sitting in this tree of this body. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead, seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of the individual soul's activities and is the source of the soul's various types of consciousness. So, um, so the jiva, the soul, is actually desiring and doing so many things, and in state of illusion, in state of ignorance, he is incurring um, material karma, material suffering, illusory effect of illusory potency. He's getting pulled into that material direction, material life. And super soul is actually sanctioning it and observing and sanctioning as and when, wherever applicable, wherever the jiva has maybe in his past lives he has accumulated piety, and based on that he is desiring in this life and wants to enjoy material life. So if it is sanctioned based on which is Lord will allow, if he has earned piety, earned karma in his previous life, and similarly if he has done bad activities, sinful activities, he'll have to incur suffering in the life. So that is how it is. So he's sanctioning, he's observing and sanctioning. So the super soul gives the individual soul an opportunity to act freely and witnesses his activities. The super soul is called Adi Yagya, the Lord of Sacrifice, or Paramatma. So now, why should we, Srila Prabhupada says, why should we know all these things? Now Lord Krishna says, Anta kale chamam eva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshaya. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Lord Krishna is saying, he is saying it, and he is Bhagwan himself, so he is saying, have no doubt about it, what he is saying. So now here is a critical point. Antakale. So we know the game of musical chairs. As children, we would have played, and even you would have played even as and when there were parties and all that. So this was now we have YouTube and so many other arrangements. Earlier it was like these. So musical chairs, so just like game of musical chairs, we don't know when music will stop. To win, we have to be very alert and active throughout. So similarly, this was just an example. So if we practice and go on with Krishna consciousness, then the ultimate result of Krishna consciousness is described here. Antakale, at the time of death, all our activities, all this proprietorship, what we say we own, we falsely claim we own, everything is now just going to end. This is that moment being spoken about, just at the verge of the point of death. So mam eva, mam, unto me, Krishna. So therefore, one who is always constantly in Krishna consciousness, naturally at the time of death, he will think of Krishna. This is a practice. So this is what you have been practicing throughout your life. So naturally at the time of death, you will remember, think of Krishna. So we need to practice this throughout our life for this movement. So this movement. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example of King Kulashekara. He composed Mukunda Mala Stotra, where he explains his devotional service. And in verse 33, he describes his position. He says, Krishna Twadiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam Adye Adyeva Vishatu Me Manasa Raja Hamsaha Prana Prayana Samaye Kapha Vata Pitte Kantha Avarodhana Vidhau Smaranam Kutaste. My Lord Krishna, I pray that the swan of my mind may immediately sink down to the stems of the lotus feet of your lordship and be locked up in their network. Otherwise, at the time of my final breath, when my throat is choked up with cough, how will it be possible to think of you? Because at that moment, at the time of death, my dear Krishna, I do not know what will be my position. Right? I mean, we also doubt, right, what will be our position at the time, knowing this is the critical moment. Because at the time, all the functions of my body will be stopped, and naturally there will be a block in my throat due to cough. So, we know the conditions in Kali Yuga have deteriorated, but this King Kulashekara is mentioning, when things were much clean, pure, very auspicious, and so even at that time is the same condition. This material body, no matter how royal or whatever facilities you have, the condition of material nature is being described. And this is how it has been throughout. This is by design, so that we can move into spiritual direction. So, King Kulashekara prays at the time of death, due to the derangement of the bodily function, when kapha will choke up my throat, then how shall I be able to chant, remember, and chant your names? So, because at the present I'm in healthy condition, I am now chanting Hare Krishna, but at that time, how I shall be able to chant? So, therefore, while I'm chanting now in good health, please let me die immediately so that I can die chanting. This is the prayer, because that is the ultimate test. Antakale. So next Kalevaram, which means this body, and when becomes freed from this body or gets out of this body, and at that very same time he remembers Krishna, then one who passes this body, this life, in this way, Yaha Prayati Samad Bhavam Yati. Mad Bhavati means that he at once attains the nature of Krishna, right? Eternity, blissful, and knowledge. What is the nature of Krishna? Satchitananda. He is full of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. It's completely spiritual. This is the advantage of practicing Krishna consciousness. Because at the time of death, whatever we have practiced while in our present healthy life, in present body, we will remember and practice at the time of death. Right? We know that practice makes a man perfect. So, just like in sleep, we dream of so many things related to our activities which we have been practicing throughout the day or in the recent days. Similarly, this death is also kind of a dream. Srila Prabhupada gives an example. He's making an analogy. He's saying that this death is like a dream. Death is nothing but sleeping for 7 months, right? Just like in the operation theater, one is made unconscious for some time, and post that he comes to his consciousness. He again comes to the same point, right, before the consciousness, before the unconsciousness. So similarly, death is nothing but to remain practically unconscious for 7 months. So the soul leaves this body, this present material body, and enters into a particular womb of mother. While in that state, another body develops, and this takes about 7 months. So that is why it's a dream-like state where one is sleeping for 7 months. Then after 7 months, when the body is fit, developed to that stage, then our consciousness comes back, right? So we experience so many things while still in the womb. So then we want to come out of that womb because we find it so miserable in being in the womb. And at the 10th month, soul comes out with the new body of a baby. So this is a very miserable condition, right? We have heard this. But one who leaves his body in Krishna consciousness, Antakale, at that point of death. So Krishna says, Ya Prayati, who leaves his body in this way, Sa Madbhavam Yati, he at once attains the perfection like me. So Krishna is all perfect. So we achieve, because of practicing Krishna consciousness, we achieve that perfection. We can now transcend from material body to spiritual body. So that is why Lord Krishna is saying that he at once attains the perfection like me, like my nature, which is completely transcendental, completely spiritual. Me here refers to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's nature is transcendental. Therefore, one attains at once that transcendental nature. Nasti atra samshaya. There is no doubt about it. Lord Krishna himself is saying he is Bhagwan Swayam. So why have doubt about it? Now, if we believe Krishna as the supreme authority, then we can adopt this practice. And there is no question of not believing in Lord Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says, why not believe in Krishna? Because all great souls, all great scholars, and all great spiritualists believe in him. Srila Prabhupada gives an example of Arjuna. Arjuna is not an ordinary man. He belongs to the royal order. And he's a very great fighter, great general, and he's taking instruction from Lord Krishna, an authority, and topmost authority. Ramanujacharya, Shankaracharya, and all the acharyas have accepted Krishna as the supreme. Lord Chaitanya has accepted Krishna as the supreme. Then why would anybody hesitate in accepting and understanding about Lord Krishna's greatness? Jana yena gataha sa pantha. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, dry arguments are inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, so much variety, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. So here Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is emphasizing method to understanding spiritual scriptures, practicing religious principles. So he's saying argumentative, dry arguments that are inconclusive. So because usually you find where there is philosophy, speculative philosophy, one person is differing from other, because otherwise he will not get any respect, he will not get any acceptance. So this is not the right method. The right path to realize religious principles is we follow a self-realized soul. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person, right? A Mahajana, a sage, a guru, a spiritually realized guru, a proper guru disciplic succession, a parampara, authorized parampara. So consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. So we follow the guru. So example, just like when we go to the market, Srila Prabhupada gives an example, and we want to buy something new and we are not aware of the price, but if we see that everyone is purchasing at the same price, then we can think, okay, undoubtedly this must be the right price. Let me purchase at this price. Otherwise, you will always have hesitation or you'll not be able to decide or proceed to that purchasing. So then there is no doubt in such a case because I see several people, they are accepting it at that price. So this is the right price. So Mahajano Yena Gataha Sa Pantha. The Shastra says that because our receptive power of knowledge is very limited. We are not perfect. Our senses are not perfect. Because we have taken this material body, material senses now, and we have been building material knowledge all our life. We have hardly, I mean, not everybody, maybe mostly we will see that there was never an emphasis on reading spiritual scriptures from the young age. This is earlier people were practicing Varna Ashrama system properly. People will go to Gurukul, they will gain spiritual knowledge, and so they will have strong understanding of spiritual knowledge. Whereas now in the present age, this method is lost. Now through Krishna consciousness, this is being revived. Um, There's so much emphasis now on scripture. To reach the ultimate end. Okay, so the yeah, so therefore, whatever knowledge we acquire by these blunt senses, it cannot be perfect. The direction is therefore Tarkaha Apratistha. Chetan Charitamrita, Bhakti Leela, 186. To reach the ultimate conclusion just by arguments and speculation is not possible because argumentative power is a special gift. So suppose you can argue very nicely, and if somebody comes and he is more powerful in arguments, he can defeat you. He can defeat any person, right? So one should not depend on one's speculative function or ability to argue. It's imperfect. Tarkaha Apratistha. These are the directions of higher authorities, the Mahajanas, the spiritual life. So Tarko Apratistha. Shruteya Vivinna. So Shruteya means scriptures. If you take scriptures, then there are different scriptures, and one scriptures may differ from another scripture. So following the Mahajanas authority, the path they take, the scriptures they read or follow, we follow them. For example, in Kali, Hare Krishna, Prabhu Mataji. Sorry, I think we got disconnected.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. I think it was for a brief moment, right? Was it for long?
Yeah. Half a minute or
Okay.
something.
Half a minute. Okay. Okay. So we were talking about emphasis on following Mahajanas, who are authorities, higher authorities. We take their direction, we follow their path. Otherwise, um, argumentative, speculative method, that is not the right path. So, yeah. So for Kali Yuga, so we have these scriptures, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that is what we do. So this devotional principle is not like that. We don't pose ourselves as the higher authority. We just try to follow the higher authority. We never say that, in my opinion, it should be like this. Or what opinion I have got. So what is the value of my opinion? I'm just a blunt man who is in a material body, imperfect senses. I cannot acquire any knowledge perfectly. And what is the use of my opinion? So in Krishna consciousness, we don't accept anything which is not authorized by the higher authority. But in the material world, we'll see that one philosopher is putting one doctrine, another is doing another, and they are differing with one another. So it's all very confusing. So we cannot conclude what is real. So consequently, so Shastras confirm one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajanas advocate. Therefore, the truth, real truth, is lying in the very confidential part of your body. Then, what is to be done? Best thing is Mahajano Yena Dataha Sas Pantha. We just try to follow the higher authority. So Krishna is the higher authority. If we accept him and follow this instruction, we believe him, then we get perfection. There is no doubt about it. So these scriptures and books based on these scriptures coming from our Swamis are meant to get us out of this ignorance. And when that happens, when we are out of ignorance, we become free from this material entanglement. But at the present age, Kali Yuga, people are not so intelligent that they can follow short life, poor memory, lamenting, so many disturbances. Therefore, the Sankirtan, so Srila Prabhupada says that the Sankirtan movement started and recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he says Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting, the names of Krishna is to be chanted. This is the best. Everyone can participate and benefit from it. So part of So we practice Krishna consciousness. So as part of Krishna consciousness, we discuss this Bhagavad-gītā, and for understanding that we are not blindly following a principle. So it is based on philosophy and science, right? So Kali Yuga has progressed so much. If you go to anybody, just take Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna Mahamatra, they will not. They'll have so many questions. And so that is why we have these scriptures like Bhagavad-gītā, where you can explain how things are. So it's based on philosophy and science. So then the doubts will be removed. But we have made, so this process has been made very easy by following great solver personalities. So if anyone wants to understand on the basis of philosophy and science, there is now in the present, we have so much of philosophy and science, so many books are available. If you go to one bookshop, even other Gaudiya mathas, they also have their own books. It's the same truth. Bhagavad-gītā, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many of these books on these, based on these. So, but if you simply accept it, then also there is nothing wrong. So if somebody simply accepts, okay, somebody says practice Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna Mahamatra, do so and so thing. If that person accepts it and starts practicing it, nothing wrong. But so you are like directly accepting it. But if you want to understand the science and philosophy behind it, there's so many books available. That is what the message is. So this Krishna consciousness is so nice because if we accept without understanding any philosophy or science about it, it will still have its effect. But if you want to understand it thoroughly, philosophy or science, there is nothing wrong in it. At the present, there are so many books available. These courses, recordings on Bhagavad-gītā, and so much of it available. So now Lord Krishna concludes, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran. Now Lord Krishna says that at the last point of one's death, if the person is in full Krishna consciousness, then his next promotion is to the equal status of Krishna. Like mentioned earlier, transcendental. Lord Krishna is nature is transcendental, Satchitananda, full of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. So perfect. So we will, so he's completely transcendental spiritual. And his abode is completely transcendental spiritual. Mad bhavam, in the same nature, transcendental. So why? The truth is, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evati eveti panteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without failing. Lord Krishna is saying, so this is a guarantee. He is perfect. Whatever he says is perfect. So the nature's law is that if you are practice under a certain condition of life, and at the end of that, if you think of that life, then the next birth is, it means it carries the idea of this birth to the next birth. So in our present life, whatever thoughts we have throughout our life, because this is what we believe, this is what we practice. So at the end of our life, at that last moment, we will think of the same, and this will prepare. This is a preparation for our next life. The subtle body is already ready, so we transcend to the next body with the subtle body, which has all the information. So we are simply changing body. This is what that means. So for Srila Prabhupada gives an example. Suppose if a person is a thoughtful poet, and when it's time for him to change his body, and he wants to remain a poet, so, and this is what he's thinking. So by changing his body, he'll not become someone else. So the thought is the real thing. The thought, what we think, is that the real thing. That is very important. That is very crucial. So that will carry us to the other body. So there is a gross body made of these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, and ether. Subtle body, mind, intelligence, ego. So this subtle body, the thought, the mind, the functions of mind are thinking, feeling, and willing. So this thought, this working of the mind. So when gives of this gross body, the subtle body carries us to the another body. So thought is very important. This is the real thing. So when we become on the same level of Krishna consciousness, then our subtle body also is Krishna conscious. Then it cannot change, go against the rule. So we directly go in the spiritual body to Krishna. This is what Lord Krishna is guaranteeing. So if we have practiced Krishna consciousness throughout our life, we have achieved full Krishna consciousness, and this is the state of our mind. We have thought of the same Krishna consciousness, because this is of so much emphasis we have been practicing, then by rule, by default, Lord Krishna is promising this. So we'll directly go to the spiritual body, to Krishna in his abode. So this is how it is. So this entire life is a preparation. This is why so much emphasis on Krishna consciousness throughout life. Some people say, I'll practice so and so, I'll do everything, whatever I want to do throughout my life. But at the later stage, I'll think of it. So it doesn't work like that, right? So we know throughout our life, whatever we have practiced, whatever we have been thinking, because we believe in it, this is what Ante Kale, at the last moment, it will be culmination of all that. Same thought, same desire, same thing. This is how it is. So this is why we need to practice Krishna consciousness throughout our life. So that at the last moment, also we are Krishna conscious. And this is what Krishna is guaranteeing. Then you will transcend, you will achieve my nature, all spiritual, in my spiritual abode. This is the guarantee of Lord Krishna. So thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining. Please continue to join again tomorrow, and we'll hear further, we'll get further details. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks, Hare Krishna. So if anybody has any question, let me know. I will complete. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then with pranam to everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.